You would be stunned how many people don't get this.
What?
Well, Oprah likes wine. Okay, so why everywhere in the world is about climate and soil? Okay, so volcanoes, plates moving around, form these volcanoes. This is cooled lava in Malula Gap. At one point in time, the lava flow here was 63 square miles and a mile thick. So not a place you'd want to be. It's kind of like downtown rush hour here. I was like, I couldn't find a place to park. The other big thing that happened and made Washington State what it is, Missoula floods. History Channel has a great special on it, so look it up. So what happens is up here, Lake Missoula, ice dam forms, about the size of Lake Superior, ruptures, empties up in about 48 hours. They have estimated the flood of water out of this thing was equal to the combined flow of the rivers of the world today combined. Wow. Times 10. Wow. Times 10. Okay? Not a place you want to be. 500 cubic miles of water, little pebbles came like this one, came rushing down through the Columbia Valley. 200 ton, what they call floaters, okay? Literally scraping through the landscape. And look at the background. That's what Eastern Washington looks like. You've been to Napa, you've been to Sonoma. It's beautiful, right? You drive the Silverado Trail. It's beautiful. You're like, of course you're going to make great wine here. Eastern Washington just ain't beautiful. Trust me, it takes a while. So here's what happens. So we've got the Olympic Peninsula, 240 inches of rain. This is where the rainforest is. Seattle, Bill Gates, all that stuff. 35 to 40. 15 feet of snow in the Cascades. 15 feet. And yet in the Columbia Valley, which is where all the grapes go, 6 to 10 inches of rain. That's it. It takes about 20 inches of rain a year to sustain a grapevine. So the way that we are able to do that is through drip irrigation. So we can monitor the plant. We don't want the plant to put all its energy into the vine. The vine's job is to grow, right? That's what its job is to do. So we need to mitigate that back a little bit. Interesting just to look at other areas that we consider dry, like Napa, 25 to 30. Bordeaux, which we think of as being wetter, doesn't get as much as Napa. I mean, Napa's all come in the wintertime, so it is a Mediterranean climate, so it all does come in the wintertime. What else is unique about Washington is the heat. So if you look at both the heat and the sun, it peaks earlier throughout the summer. So the curve of heat goes up more quickly and down more quickly. So could I ask you to, gentlemen in the back, to get the wines would you pour these folks for me, please? So what happens is, the good news is we don't get any of these late season heat spikes, okay? And we get a little bit more of a balanced acidity to it. So the Pinot Gris, well, here you go. They're empty. People suck it down or what? There you go. All right. Yeah. You're good rather wine or water?
You sure you might have one?
We have one there, so you can use that, and we have one here, okay? So let me move my jacket. Here you go. All right. You're welcome. And then, sir, would you do me a favor? I think there's 4 extra glasses in the rack. Can you bring them out and put them up here? Everybody clear. We try to keep it a secret that I was talking because we knew it would be oversold. So back to the heat spike. So the good news about Washington is we don't have these heat spikes you get in Napa. Like business, location is key, right? So if you look at where we are, yeah, just set up right there, that'd be great. And if you would fill me up to left and right. Chicory will be first. Oh, Cole, yeah, Bam, and then that's the New Ridge is third, that's 4th. Beautiful, thank you. Pour yourself an extra big glass. So it's all about location, right? So here's all these other great wine growing areas of the world, and you see where they line up with Columbia Valley, Willamette, and then the North Coast in California as well. I've already told you that, etc. So continental climate, all that kind of stuff. So the great thing about, and what's interesting about wine is we love bad soils. We don't love good soils because the plant will just grow, and we don't want that. We need to, it's like a teenager really needs to survive. It really needs to struggle to get there. So we've got the salt from all the lava flows we talked about, and we've got all the sand, the silt loam, and a lot of these, it's a lot of fine sand. We don't have the diversity of soil than you have in some of the other areas because of the Missoula flood. But the good news about this, because it's a lot of sand, because it's a very cold environment, the flocks cannot survive in Washington State, so we're on our own roofs there. So that's something that kind of keeps the vine a little bit more healthy state to it. So something that you don't hear a lot about in other areas is wind. Columbia Valley is very, very windy. Actually, just down the river from the Canoe Ridge Vineyard, they actually have a windsurfing championships every year. So it tells you the power of the wind there. So what the wind does is really restrict the vine growth. And what that does, particularly as it gets windy, the vine starts to lose water, and it senses it's losing water, so it kind of shuts down. And one of the things that's kind of counterintuitive with wine in growing grapes is that the winemakers, they don't want it to ripen up too quickly. They usually take their time. It's like making stock. You can't make stock in 5 minutes, and you need that slow simmer. Lady on the end here and the lady right here, if you would please. So the Pinot Gris will be on your left, and the mat. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
She's already been poured in.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That was for me, that gentleman. So if you would pour me as well, when we sit there, I appreciate that. So I'll give you a nice tip later. The number one most interesting fact you'll ever hear about wine, I don't care who's telling it to you. Wine's 80% water. It's 12 to 14% alcohol on average. 6% of the volume of wine is made up of 400 different polyphenolic compounds that make up all the color and flavor and everything. This is what makes wine so interesting. What makes it so intimidating too for a lot of folks. So what we're going to do today is talk about tools and innovation that made wine. So these were the tools that we used to use and had, for years to make wine. Our very attractive tongue. I think that's kind of scary for us. And the nose. That's all the tools that we use to make wine. So what I'm going to talk about now is, and we're going to taste the Pinot Gris and the Sauvignon Blanc. If you could. Oh, everybody, this is Jennifer. Jennifer's one of the enologists at every. Hi, Jennifer. Come on, everybody. So Jennifer's will comment on some of the wines, and she also was very nice and sent some barrel samples out for us. And you always want to be nice to winemakers. The winemakers are the admin people. Okay, never piss them off because you're in trouble. Okay. So what we're going to do is go ahead and taste the Pinot Gris and the Sauvignon Blanc. And what I'm going to talk about is a way that we deliver these to the presses. With white wines, we press the juice off the skins very quickly. And I always want you to think back to the 400 compounds and all these little nuances that the winemakers are constantly trying to deliver. So here's a video of, I love this. So this is a Columbia press, and it's how two different methods that we use to get white fruit to the presses. And so what you're going to see here in a minute is a screw conveyor and a belt conveyor. Because what we find is that different varieties need to be treated in different ways. So this is Sauvignon Blanc. Now the thing about Sauvignon Blanc is it can be beat up a little bit. You want to macerate the skins a little bit because a lot of the flavors in the skins. Other varieties like Pinot Gris that is there and also in your glass don't like, Pinot Gris you can see has a tint to it. So we don't want to pick up that color in the wine. And other varieties like Gewürztraminer that are very aromatic. And also with Riesling, you don't want to rip up the skins a lot because you'll get a lot of off flavors and phenolics in there. So what we have here is a way to deliver grapes to the press in a different way that will benefit them and not make them have these off flavors. It's all about purity of fruit, getting the juice or the fruit or whatever to where it needs to be and in as best a condition as possible. So. So the Pinot Gris, I love Pinot Gris, pear, apple, very moderate acidity to it. It's just a very, very easy wine to love, particularly this time of year. Except that they have hay fever like me. Y'all like that? What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Very good. I like that. Good answer. Yes, it's the best I've ever had.
Yes.
So the second wine is the Horse Heaven Sauvignon Blanc from our Horse Heaven Vineyard, which is right along the Columbia River there. Obviously more acidity to it. Again, the thing about Sauvignon Blanc is you gotta kind of rip up the skins a little bit. So so this is one of those. It's a good example of all the things that the winemakers have to do to deliver nuances into the wine and develop a little bit more flavor to it. Because you're working with 400 compounds that make up only 6% of the volume. So when you think about that, it's kind of like coffee and chocolate. They're very similar foods from that standpoint. Okay. So next we're going to taste, go ahead and taste wines 3 and 4. So we have the Canoe Ridge Chardonnay. This is also the Horsehead Hills AVA. You can see the Columbia River in the background. And then the Coal Creek Chardonnay that is from a little bit more northern area. Whenever you see cooler vineyard for Chardonnay, you're going to get more of like an austere apple flavor to it. Okay, so when you see any notes or descriptions about cooler vineyards, that means it's going to be more of a kind of an austere apple flavor to it. You're also going to have higher acidity because as the grape is maturing throughout the year, the acid's high, decreases as the grape matures, the sugar goes the opposite way. Acid balances out the alcohol taste in wine, so we don't want wine that tastes like alcohol. You have a direct correlation between your sugar level and the amount of finished alcohol. So if you miss harvest and you're out here, you're going to have more alcohol and less acidity to balance that out. So acidity is, we're always talking about acidity because it is so critical. Now looking at, so the Canoe Ridge, and I want you to pay attention to this, most of it's in oak, but only 38% is in new oak, okay? When we look at the Canoe Ridge, the Coal Creek, it's a warm vineyard. And it ain't cold or it ain't a creek. We don't know why it's called Coal Creek, but it is. But that's the easy way to remember it. So it's much warmer, and you're going to get more of what we describe as a tropical fruit style when you get a warmer area. It's very easy to remember that the tropics are warmer, right? So think tropical fruit. And so we're going to talk a little bit about oak. Now the thing about this wine compared to the Canoe Ridge, all of it's in oak and all of it's in new oak, because when you do new oak, you get a much more impact of oak on the wine with the new barrel versus an old. Just a quick shot of where those vineyards are. Coal Creek is up here, it's north. Canoe Ridge is down here. And what's interesting, as you go north, it actually gets warmer. So kind of an oddity here. So oak, I'm going to talk about oak real quick. We use oak because it's durable, it's watertight, it's got affinity for wine, and it is pliable. So why do we use oak? We use oak for basically 3 reasons. You get concentration of flavors of the wine. It helps, this oxygenation effect helps soften the tannin. And then we get these vanillin flavors in there. And then the 3 most important factors with oak are the barrel, the age of the barrel itself, new versus 1, 2-year-old, etc. Because you get about half the phenolics in a 1-year-old barrel as you do a new barrel. So the half-life is pretty quick with these things. And they're very expensive, so we spend a lot. I think in oak, in winemaking, it's grapes, what's it, grapes, oak, and people, or grapes, people, and oak in terms of the top 3 costs?
Oh, I'd be grapes, oak, and people.
Great, yeah, it shows you how valuable we are. Great. And then this toast level, and we'll talk about toast level in a minute. But before we do that, I want to show you, has anybody heard the term botanage? Okay, so what this means is when the wine is in barrel, there's a sediment that develops. So this is Chardonnay, this is wine, he's the winemaker at Columbia Crest. So what we're going to see here is this botanage process. And what this means is the stirring of the leaves. And so what we do is you come in with a stick or a baton, and you stir this up. And so you'll see what happens is you get this. In essence, what happens is there's a lot of flavor in the leaves. So by stirring the barrels, you get a lot more flavor into what we call the mid-palate, or kind of the middle flavor in the wine. And I kind of put this in here. This is something that isn't really innovative, but sometimes there are things you can't do, or you shouldn't do differently, just because it's you can do something differently. But that's the process. And invariably, if there's an engineer in the crowd, they'll say, "Oh, I can put a little, immersion blend in there, and that'll do it." But it really doesn't work as efficiently. Something else that is interesting about oak is, if you use a lot of oak. Sorry, I'm going to cut wine short there. These are not normal cellar workers, okay? You can tell by Christina and Lucy's shoes there. They're actually part of our PR team. We take people into the winery and make them work. So, well, it saves money. It doesn't. Everybody involved in the whole process. But if you're doing oak, put wine in oak, you got to just drag hoses, and The reason we like to talk about this is because oak is expensive to not only purchase, but to manage and to do. It's just basically a lot of labor. You know, lay the barrels out, drag hoses, fill them up. But at the end of the day, there's no real substitute for oak. So, yes?
Those holes that they're storing, are those like normally open, or do those get plugged?
No, those will get plugged with, it's called the bung. So
Okay.
the bung will get closed. So let's talk about these two wines. So the first is the Cold Creek. It's only about 38% New French oak. I'm sorry, the Canoe Ridge should be glass number 3, about 38% New French oak. The Cold Creek, warmer, more tropical fruit. What do you taste? You taste the differences? You prefer one over the other?
A lot of vanilla in the fourth one.
I got cinnamon on the third one, and I loved it.
Oh yeah.
All right. And the Cold Creek, what do you get? So the cinnamon is I'm going to talk about flavors in just a second. What about the Cold Creek? Lighter, softer, less oak, more oak?
It's fuller.
Fuller?
A little bit of pineapple. It
Pineapple,
does
which-
have a more fresh body.
Which is exactly what we would expect from a warmer climate Chardonnay. Fuller body, which we expect because it's 100% New French oak, so you're getting much more of an oak impact in there than you would, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pass around the next two wines. So if you, again, look, the first one, so if you would go ahead and dump your wines out, we have some dump buckets around there. So the first wine we're going to pass is, and the next we're going to set, the next we'll taste in 3 sets. So the first one I'm going to send you is I think the one I met, the French oak. What's on the left there? French oak, okay. I don't have my glasses on, which is a very dangerous thing. So the French oak will be in your left-hand glass, and the American oak will be in your right-hand glass, okay? And don't drink it all, because you got people behind you. So yes, sir. Tell you what, I'll taste yours again. Okay. So the French oak is the first wine coming around. Pour that in your left-hand glass, and so just match it up with the things on your mat. Okay. So barrel. The size of the barrel matters. You see it's a 25 liter right there, and then going up to 500. And then when you go over to Montalcino, where they grow the Brunello clone of Sangiovese, it really needs a light touch with oak. So we use these 1,000 liter casks and really a little bit more. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about oak. So again, thanks to Jennifer, we got these barrel samples. Now what this is the same wine, Cabernet from our Canoe Ridge Vineyard, and one was aged in French oak and one was aged in American oak. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and taste those. I'm going to explain a little bit about French versus American, and then we're going to come back and talk about that. Yes, taste the French oak first, and then, so we always taste left to right when we do a tasting, so that's why we're giving you the French oak first. So taste French oak first, and then the American oak. And I'm going to skip through this slide, because, so basically the big difference between oak and other woods is that there's tubes that are in the structure of an oak tree and what holds it together. And think of a pine tree like a bunch of straws that are held together by a rubber band. Okay, not very, you snip the rubber bands and you really don't have an integrated structure. Think of an oak tree more like a honeycomb type structure where it's more integrated in terms of these tubes or these fibers that run down. And the other big difference between French and American oak is there's something in the middle called tylosis. And what this is I think my computer's very tired, it's like me. So there's tylosis, which fills up these tubes, if you will, and in American oak, it's much denser, okay? So it's much more solid. So as a result, French oak must be split. It cannot be sawn. So here they are getting an oak barrel. This is at a cooper. They're getting ready to split it up. Okay. So this needs to be split in this fashion. American oak can be sawn because it will remain watertight by being sawn. So as a result, American oak is much more efficient in terms of how much oak you can use out of the tree, which means American oak barrel. One of the reasons American oak barrels are less expensive. Okay. So That is really the key difference. Another difference, of course, is the toasting process. We toast the insides of the barrels because we like varying toast levels. We don't want oak in contact with raw wood or no char because it would very quickly overpower the wine. We want that balance. It's all about the balance, right? And so we go over to the heavy char, which is on the right-hand side. And what's interesting too is the winemakers, you know, one Cooper's medium is darker than another Cooper's medium. So the winemakers are really now matching up Cooper's mediums to specific wine. So that's kind of it used to be an oak we worried about percentage of new oak and old oak, and that was mostly the equation. But now it's about looking and working with the Coopers and the differences there. Something else that's kind of cool is the temperature at which some of these flavors present themselves. So you see as you go in different temperatures, that's when these different flavors tend to come out of the oak. So if you want, you know, more of an almond toasty flavor, you're going to have a higher heat on there. So again, this is something else that we're better understanding about wood. So let's go ahead and taste those wines. Somebody tell me what the French oak, what you taste out of that, what you like.
I'm going to just say that the French oak is so much subtler than the American oak.
The French oak, well, as the French are more subtle than us,
Exactly.
Would say, right? There you go.
We're pressed.
So the comment is the French oak is more subtle than the American oak. Would you agree with that, or is this guy crazy?
I do get more almond out of the American oak.
You get more almond out of the American oak. Okay.
More nuttiness.
Okay.
Whereas the French oak enunciates the taste of the grape.
I think it's a very fair comment to say the French is obviously much more subtle, and you get one of the comments yesterday. The tannin really came out of the wine yesterday.
Oh yeah,
The tannin.
With the American oak.
Yeah, exactly. It's much more.
Which is
The American is more-
counterintuitive because you always think the
More
French oak is
pronounced,
going to bring tannin.
more pronounced flavors is, seems like it's more spicy.
Could be more spicy. So Jennifer, can you just talk about the wines very quickly? So again, this is a 2013 Cabernet from the Chateau Ste.
Yes, this one is, as I said, 2013 Cabernet from Canoe Ridge, so it's a really young wine. It hasn't been polished up and filtered or anything like that. It's intended towards our Indian Wells Cabernet blend. It's actually going to be pumped out right now for speaking back to the winery. Exact same Cooper, exact same toast levels. The only difference is the American versus French oak for this wine. So it really is able to highlight those two differences. Something we do at the winery is we do a variety of oak trials with the same wine in about 30 or 40 different barrels, different Coopers, different toast levels, different ways they have of doing their things, new products. We let those age for a year. We take them out, taste them, and that's how we place our next year's order for oak. So we're always looking for new Coopers, new innovations in barrels. You know, you think it's an old process, they've been doing it for hundreds of years, but there are new ways that Coopers come up with doing this. So it's something that we're always looking for and always changing. And we try to target our barrel program for the wine. There are particular vineyards that can handle more oak than others. Cold Creek in particular, since it's such a big, bold, ripe wine, it can generally handle a little bit more oak than, say, Canoe Ridge can. So with working with our vineyards for so long, we've been working with some of these Coopers for a very long time, and we know what works well with our wines. We tend to target a little bit more American oak towards our Columbia Valley and Indian Wells tiers, and a little more French oak for single vineyard and higher, so Ethos and Artist series. That's more of a style difference that we're trying to impart in the wines, but when we get into blending, things get a little bit muddy after that, but that's generally how it works out.
Quick question: do you market the oak at all?
Not really. I mean, we don't necessarily put 100% new oak or however you know what those percentages are. And in fact, as the winemaking techniques have gotten a little bit better and we're more familiar with these vineyards, we're trying to dial back some of our new oak percentages in our wine.
Do you experiment with any different states, you know, like French and American, so many different?
Like different staves. Every red wine goes to barrel. We don't age on staves or chips.
No, I mean,
but-
like,
So a barrel that would be
Oh,
American and oak.
yeah, American and French.
And French in one barrel.
Yes.
There is one or two Coopers that are kind of throwing that idea out, but what we found is that actually it doesn't integrate very well into the wine. They don't play well together like that.
French American, imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about that?
We've trialed it, but we haven't liked how it's come out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
One last. Have you experimented yet with Slovenian oak? Because I feel like with these two Cabernets, a little bit background of like a vanilla spice would go exceedingly well with it.
Actually, just for the 2014 vintage, we've started a other European oak trial.
Really?
And that's mostly because of the shortage of American oak in our markets right now. The bourbon industry has put really a big impact on the demand for American oak barrels, and so we're looking for other sources.
So you're at odds with the bourbon industry?
Yes, yes.
Is it possible that in the next 3 to 5 years we're going to see a Slovenian oak input from Chateau Ste?
Potentially, depending on how our trial goes.
Fair enough.
We haven't had more than just this past vintage of trying it out. So
Winery is basically one big experiment. Really.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so interesting and fascinating. Walk around and see this one on here, this one on that. Concrete fermenters. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So, great, thank you. So now we're passing around 2 more red wines. We're going to do an Indian Wells Merlot and a Canoe Ridge Merlot, and a few stats on that. So the Indian Wells, this is also from that near the Blue Slope area where it's a little bit warmer. Again, when you go north, it gets hot. It's kind of odd. The Indian Wells Merlot, which will be, that's the first one, again, pour that to the left. That has 15% Syrah, and Syrah is the next hot star out of Washington State. We're very excited about that. And then the Canoe Ridge Merlot, a little bit of cab in there, and about 46% neutral. So the Canoe Ridge vineyard, a little bit more elegance and restraint. So as was mentioned, we don't want as heavy a treatment with new oak in there. So what I'm going to talk about now are things that are going in the vineyards to try and make better wines. Actually goes back to the mid-90s when we had a problem with phylloxera, which is a little bug that has a habit of eating grapes and the roots of grapevines. And so what we did, we actually paired up with NASA and used the space shuttle to map out where they were, because phylloxera moved out in a circular pattern. So using infrared, we were able to locate it and isolate it as best we could. There was another program in the late 90s about using the same type of technology for canopy management, sensing the health of the canopy or the vine. Again, in a little bit later on, another use of technology to kind of look at the whole environment, etc. So what that brings us to the subject today is the aerial imaging, or NDVI, which is Normal Differential Vegetative Index. Okay. I put that on my Match.com profile, but women apparently aren't interested in learning about that, so I'll have to try something else. The idea with this is we're trying to ID these blocks and look at the differing and different health of canopies, okay? Because that will tell us better ways to farm, what blocks within a vineyard may be doing better, because we have here 2 tiers. We sell one tier for more than the other. We're always trying to make better fruit and manage the vineyard better. So help us to detect this uneven ripening and use this differential harvest. Because you can see canopies have different, there's a light canopy here, a heavier canopy here, and it will tell us how we might manage that. So what we did is we went out, we found a guy with an airplane, because we needed a guy with an airplane to do this. They did not think this was funny in Indianapolis. I was like, this is funny, come on, you know. So this is a Cold Creek vineyard. This is from 2014. So this is a representation of it. So what you can see are very minute differences in the colors here. Okay, you can see there are kind of some streaks that are running this way. So basically, the next slide actually is a little bit better look at this. So in particular, if you look out at the, I lost my little clicker, it's driving me nuts. I hate having to go back there. So if you look at this video, this is from 05. So this is a Sauvignon Blanc block. And Sauvignon Blanc is a very aggressive grower of the vine. And you really have to prune it aggressively, otherwise you get those really vegetative flavors. That's what you don't want in Sauvignon Blanc. So the blue, as you get to blue, it means higher vigor. And again, this is one of those counterintuitive things, is we don't want extremely high vigor, because we have high vigor in the plant, we have lower quality in the fruit. So, this is kind of a problem here. If you could look at this versus the rest of the vineyard, so if you were to taste this out, it would be much more vegetable. So the results of this are that 4 out of 5 people who tasted it could tell the difference in this differential harvesting. So the way we did it, so this is one of the mechanical harvesters that we're using, this differential harvester, and you see the 2 shoots. So the way this works is the maps were downloaded into a GPS unit. So as the harvester is approaching a zone that has a different ripeness level, etc., they literally get a little warning light. And so what they'll do is divert the fruit into another bin. So if we have a block that is, we think is going in the Indian Wells tier, the vineyard's going in the Indian Wells, but there's a block in the middle that is, man, this stuff is just absolutely dynamite, we'll divert that into maybe the Canoe Ridge or the Cold Creek. So it's a way to help us do this differential harvesting. So so that is, you see in 06 we did about 20 blocks, and I think we did up about 400 acres up in 08. 400 acres doesn't sound like a lot. It's only about 50,000 acres of vines in Washington State. So, and I don't know the number that we did in 2014. So, but so go ahead and taste some wine. So the Indian Wells were low. This is a warmer region in general, so we go a little more for a little bit riper fruit style with the Indian Wells. Versus the Canoe Ridge. Again, the Canoe Ridge is cooler, a little bit more what we describe as elegant and restrained in terms of that fruit style.
Are these the same vintage?
Are they the same vintage? What is the vintage you have on the Canoe Ridge? They are? Okay. Okay, the 11 and they're both 11, yes, thank you. Yes, sir.
With as much wind as you're getting, wouldn't it be better to prune the vines closer to the ground? So they wouldn't be as, the wind wouldn't affect them as much?
Well, everything in winemaking is a balance. So, I mean, we don't want to go as close to the ground as you would in like Champagne. Of course, they need to do that for the heat over there. But the wind is good because it helps. One thing it does help keep pests away. You know, like, so we don't have the issue that they have in California where in the glassy wing sharpshooter, which is a problem, so it can help with that. So, you know, it's one of those bounds. We don't want to obviously go too high, but, you know, it's a good thought. But, okay, any other questions about normal differential vegetative index? Exciting, isn't it? Cool stuff. Never thought you were going to see this today, did you? Okay, now we're going to do the last two lines. The first line would be the Canoe Ridge Cabernet Sauvignon. So that will be in your left hand of your two glasses. And then the second line will be the 2010 Artist Series. This is our Meritage, so this will be in your right hand glass. Oh, you know what? Would you pour me that, please?
The product there.
But up and up here. You gotta, oh, we're glass wine, so now you're talking up. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. There you go. So enjoy that. So, okay. So now we're going to talk about some of the differences in how these wines are made and some of the new innovative techniques. So Canoe Ridge. Oh, I had the 12 up there. I'm sorry. So this is from yesterday. We like the people in Columbus better. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, people. Make sure you're awake. So, 2010 Artist Series Meritage. Now look at that fact. 85% Cold Creek. 10 was a warmer vintage. This is our biggest, boldest wine. This is the first one we make every year. So it's not surprising that most of this is from Cold Creek because cooler vintage, you need bigger fruit in there. So I'm going to show you now one of the coolest videos you're ever going to see in the wine world. So this is an optical sorter. And what this is, we use this in our top 3 tiers in terms of sorting. And we literally sort these optically. So what you're going to see is the fruit. Now in this demonstration, we're using blueberries and peas because it wasn't during harvest. So the fruit comes down, it's read by a computer for size and color. If it doesn't make it, you have 2 rows of air jets here that knock the grape out into the discard bin. So you got blueberries here, you got peas here. You can see some stems in there as well because stems don't taste good. Peas don't taste good because peas are basically underripe or shot berries. They're very hard. They're very tannic. They have no fruit component to them. So this is we've been using this for a couple years now, and we use it at Concrete and Napa. Opus One uses it. It's just a really great way to sort out your fruit so that the fruit that goes into the tank is truly perfect. I mean, it's perfect. So it's fascinating watching. Now, with we don't want to just worry about the upper tiers. We want to worry about all our wines. So we have something called, this is the best name ever. This is the Mog Buster, or the Mog Monster. Okay, I like Monster better. So the idea with this is to remove the mog, which is material under the grapes, leaves, stems, etc., and prevent them from getting into the tank. Okay, so obviously with the Mog Buster, we use these on when we're bringing in, pardon me, higher quality of fruit. So what Juan is talking about there is, I just bought a new car right now. What he's talking about there is, he talks about what it does is it gets rid of what we call the white noise. So we've gone from about 3% Mog to about maybe 1% Mog. So we've eliminated a lot. So what happens is the berries go across these plates. The plates, we have different size plates with different size holes based off the berry. This is, I think, is Syrah. And it's kind of funny, you stand there, you're mesmerized, and you start rooting for a grape to make but you can see, you know, we've got all these leaves and all these stems here, because, so they're not going into the tank now. So this is a pretty cool way to do that. So it helps us at all levels really eliminate a more Mog from the tank, which gives us better fruit in the wine. A couple other innovations. You're going to see a picture of a cap in a minute. You may know that when you put the wine into the tank, the cap, which is the skins and the pulp, rise to the top. Well, that's what all the color and flavor is, so we have to integrate the juice with the cap, and there's several ways to do that. Well, I'll just show you those in just a minute, but the idea of the conical tank is it pushes the cap down a little bit more into the juice, so you save a little square footage there. We're also doing some different things with concrete fermenters and some smaller stainless steel fermenters there. These have jacketed, so they're cool. They help us keep the fermentation from getting too warm, because if it gets too warm, the yeast will stop and it helps maintain. Wine never gets out of the way. It's driving me nuts, you know. Doing smaller oak fermenters, and again stainless steel as well. So the gentleman mentioned pump over. So how do we integrate the cap with the skins? There's a couple methods of doing that. And I'm going to have Jennifer talk about why we would do the different ones. So this is pump over. So what we do is we hook a tank, a hose to the bottom of the tank. Here we're obviously straining out the berries, and you just pump the juice back up over the cap. Okay, so this is pump over. Okay, very simple process there. I'm going to stop. This goes on for a while, but I tell you, we were there in the morning, and we were looking at this and like, you just want blueberry pancakes here. So now this is punch down and pulse there. We're kind of doing two of these ones, but look at how thick that cap is. I mean, it takes a lot of force to do punch down, okay, because the cap is very, very thick. So Jennifer, while this is talking, can you just describe the differences, why we would do punch down versus pump over versus pulse air? I'll describe the pulse air when you're done.
Of course. We taste all our fermenters twice a day as they're fermenting, so we can make decisions based on tannin management. So if we taste a tank and we realize that, you know, this is really starting to get a little tannic, but it's still not quite dry, we may turn the pump overs down. We may switch to punch downs, which are a little bit more gentle. And depending on what we're looking for in that wine, there's also.
I'm going to interrupt you just a second, just because I want to see. So notice now, this is pulse air, where we basically burp the tank. And I want you to pay attention to the back here. You're going to start seeing the thing go like this. You see a little puff of air. Okay, that's CO2 coming out of there. So you're going to see this. So this is integrating now. So I wanted to just point that out while you were talking about it. So go ahead. Thank you.
There's also particular vineyards that tend to be more tannic than others. Vineyards that we've worked with for a long time. Red Mountain is really a tannic site. So we know that those are tannins that we need to manage a little bit more. Instead of trying to extract them, we need to try to not get too much. So we'll choose a more gentle method, such as pulse air or punch downs instead of pump overs. There's even some vineyards that all we've done is pull the juice off and put it right back in the bottom, super gentle. And we've only done that twice to that tank, and that's how it ferments. Just kind of steeps like some tea. Just because we know it's going to get plenty of color and tannin, it doesn't need anything more. So
Right.
that's how we kind of make our decisions.
So this is how we manage the tannins. You'll hear winemakers talk about managing the tannins, and this is how you do it. Question?
Different clones and different sites, you're saying different colors
Yeah,
and stuff like that?
yeah. Washington really doesn't have an issue getting color and tannin out of our grapes. That's never an issue. Usually it's just getting too much. So, but yeah, different clones, different sites, and we've worked with a lot of these sites for decades. Cold Creek is a more than 40-year-old vineyard that is a state vineyard of ours. Canoe Ridge, our vineyard manager, planted that in 1992, and she lives on the vineyard, and she goes.
She has a house.
That vineyard, yeah, she
So
lives
she
in a house
lives in the
vineyard,
vineyard.
not just on there to tend. But she knows more about
You
that
treat our
vineyard
people
than
right.
anybody else. And so having those resources, I mean, we know these
I mean,
vineyards intimately, and so we're able to know what to expect when the fruit's coming in. Especially if you have a warm year like 2014 and 13, I need more color in can out of them. So it's how to hold back on some of those grapes.
But look at the color of that, isn't that amazing? I mean, the color there is unbelievable, the smell is just crazy, it really is something, so. And then last but not least is hand punch down. So they take the newest person in the cellar and they make them do this. And this is, winemaking's fun for like 10 minutes. Everything is romantic and fun and all that. It's fun for like 10 minutes. So, and Chip here, my colleague Chip, so I can handle this, no problem. So watch his face, watch his face. Watch, look.
It's a great workout.
Triceps.
He gave it to me to do the middle. He's like, I can't do that. So we do a lot of great things at the winery. We do a lot of great things right every once in a while. Okay, you didn't see this, all right? Every once in a while we don't have
Wow.
tank 37, or so we're standing up in the Red Crest area, and there's like some educator like, what's going on over there? I'm like, well, I think tank 37, not 38. Is that where that wine's supposed to go? So anyway, a lot of fun. So what's interesting is we've all these innovations and difference in terms of techniques, but I'm going to come back to this, because we have all this stuff going on and all these, as much things going on in the vineyards as you've seen as we do in the winery, but it all comes down to the winemakers going through and tasting all this stuff and making the final decision. So it's not like there's a computer model that we just load this up, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on that you'd never see by reading the label, etc. So that's why I wanted to kind of share this with you today to show you some things that we're doing to try and make better wine and all these details that go into that. It's just some pretty cool stuff. So anyway, I literally have 2 minutes, and I apologize. I hate to do this, but I got to get to North Carolina, and it's only my fourth state this week, so I'm behind my schedule. But are there any quick questions I may answer?
No, do we have any driving tips for him?
No, they got a car for me, so that's okay. We're definitely not doing that.
Helicopter
to take care of all this stuff too. So thank you all very much for coming. Yes, questions?